Hey everybody, welcome to Real Essentials, the Essential Real Estate Podcast. I am Todd Adwar, this is my partner,
Peter Goodman,
and we have been in the mortgage business and
the attorney business.
for many, many years, and we have seen it all. So we plan on bringing all of our knowledge and experience to help you buy and sell homes. Yeah?
That's what we're here for. So let's talk a little bit about, because today is our very first podcast. You are seeing our very first podcast, so congratulations and welcome. Very excited. We're going to teach you everything you need to know about how to buy a home. And first, we're going to start a little bit about the market and the trends, and a little bit about the past, the present, and the future. So,
Yeah, hey Pete, why don't you tell everybody about yourself, and what you've been doing?
I think that's a good idea. It's a great place to start. Why not start at the beginning, right? So I am an attorney. I've been practicing for 27 years, a long time. Mostly real estate throughout my entire career, but because of my firm, we do a lot of other things. And the reason I mention that is only because when you buy real estate or sell real estate, it's not a vacuum. When you're dealing with an attorney for real estate, of course, you want a real estate attorney. But sometimes when you buy real estate, you may be buying an estate where someone passed away, mom or grandma passed away, you're selling their property, there's a divorce, there's a bankruptcy. Sometimes there are issues that you need to resolve, and you need attorneys that have other specialties. So you want to make sure that you have the right team. When you're talking about attorneys, you want to have the right team in front of you. So we've been doing it a long time, but so is Todd.
How many closings have you been involved with, you think?
Oh God, a lot of we probably do 5 or 10 closings a week. So times that by 27 years, and we've done a lot of closings.
A lot of people.
So.
Okay.
Let's talk a little about you, though.
So I got into the business many, many years ago in the 1980s. I'm giving away my age right now. And I've been
you were 37.
Yeah, don't tell anybody, please. And I've been involved in maybe 10 or 15 billion dollars worth of real estate transactions. And the interesting thing is I have managed multiple people. So I have run into situations in many different parts of the country, but primarily, my expertise is local in the New York area. And I have seen everything: purchases, sales, short sales, foreclosures. And we're going to talk about all of that. I've seen people get bargains and I've seen people get ripped off. So we'll see how it goes. And we're excited to do this. The first thing that Pete and I wanted to do was talk about market trends. Okay. So Pete, why don't we start in the past? We're coming out of a really crazy market. Why don't you talk about what that experience was like for you?
So it really was crazy. Obviously the pandemic affected people in a lot of different ways. But for us in the real estate business, interest rates went, unless you're living under a rock, interest rates were in the 2s and the 3s. And it was really a challenge. Everybody was trying to figure out how to learn how to work remotely. It really hadn't been done before in the way it was during the pandemic. And everyone was trying to buy a home. People were moving all around the world, all around the country, because they were able to work remotely. And it became a real challenge for those of us that were in the industry. We had to learn how to use technology to our advantage. We had to learn how to make sure that we got documents signed under very, very trying conditions. And everything was so much volume, and there weren't, think about it, we had the same amount of workers that we always had, but all of a sudden we had 5 times the volume. So it was a very challenging time, and everybody was looking to buy or sell a home. And so that was where we started in the last couple of years. Was your experience similar to that, Todd?
So yeah, from the mortgage end of it, we were pre-qualifying. My group, we had 100 loan officers local in Long Island, Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Queens. And we were qualifying minimum 100 folks a week, maybe 200 or 300 people who wanted to buy homes during this past market. And what I can tell you, a lot of funny stories. I had one couple with 2 kids who actually made 24 bids, if you can imagine, 24 bids on homes, and lost out on every single one of them because they wouldn't take anybody's advice. And they were going to open houses and they were using realtors, and whatever I told them they wouldn't do. But they would go in and they'd make that offer at asking price, and 10 minutes later they'd find out, well, it's too low, it's not enough money. But that was the past market. It was a market where homes went up for 120 straight months in the United States, and now that's changed a little bit. Pete, what are you seeing now as opposed to 2 years ago?
So now it's not, obviously it's much different, and most of my focus is on New York, but we look at national trends as well. And I can tell you, just going back to the past for a second, we used to have people that a seller would just say, I'm selling my house. They'd have 100 people at the open house, and it was like remember that in Goodfellas when he says, I don't care, you pay me sick, pay me. I don't care, pay me.
Right,
I don't care.
like you,
That's
right.
what it was like. The seller would say, I don't care, I'm not making repairs, you don't want no inspection, make your best offer now, and that's it, go into contract, and they can get away with that. But now it's really changed. It's a weird market. We're in like a stagnating market. You have a lot of sellers that they don't know if they want to sell because the interest rates are high, so they don't want to give up that 3% interest rate to go into a 7% interest rate. And you also have the certain buyers that are nervous about the interest rates being so high.
Yeah, and their payments too. They're, the lowest. I had a friend that we gave a mortgage to, and I said to her, 15 years from now, when you're at a party, you're still going to be bragging that you got a 1.75, interest rate, and you got the best that there ever was. And you know what? She still sends me a bottle of wine, on Christmas and New Year's for that. So for sure, she's right, especially with rates that have gone into the 7. Even they were as high as 8% a little while ago. But what's really happening now is we think that it's a great opportunity. I think Pete and I think this is the time that you should be out there buying. Before everybody gets back into the market is the sellers are willing to work with you, right? Pete, you're senior sellers that represent work.
I will say you can buy a better house now than you could during the craziness of the past. Because think about it, the example I gave before where it was the seller was just like, I don't care, just pay me. Well, you know what you were buying. You didn't necessarily do a home inspection. You were buying it completely as is. There were all sorts of issues that you could be taking risks on. Now, you get to do a home inspection. There's always going to do a home inspection. You can, if there's a repair, you can ask the seller to make that repair. You get to really make sure that you are buying the home of your dreams and that you know what you're buying as opposed to in the past. And look, interest rates, we were talking about how old we are, and I've been doing this 27 years, and I can tell you when I started the practice, people getting interest rates at 11 and 12%. And those weren't bad rates then because they were 18% when my father was young.
Yeah, that's true. The first house I bought was at 10%. I was in the mortgage business for 3 years, and I was high-fiving all my friends. And interesting, I paid 3 points on that, and I was like, woohoo!
Right. Well, think about a credit card. What's your credit card interest rates right now?
Right.
Nobody's getting, if you got
25%.
Right. If you got a 7% interest rate on a credit card right now, you'd be happy.
Yeah, you're doing very well with that.
Right.
So, even car loans are going through the roof.
Right. So buying a house now, even at a 7% rate, you get a price.
So what we're telling our clients, Pete, is we're saying, hey, go out, buy the house now. Let's just say an asking price is $700,000. You can offer $680 and not insult anybody. There may be one offer, there may be 2 offers, there may be no offers. And then you could also get the seller to pay closing costs.
Yep.
Are you seeing that? Are you seeing sellers pay
We see a lot of sellers' concessions. When you're talking about a seller's concession, basically you artificially raise the sales price of the property so you can finance your closing costs. So the seller agrees, I'll take a net of $400,000 for the house, and now you make the sales price $410,000, let's say. And at the closing, the seller gets that $400,000. The buyer gets the $10,000 to use to pay the closing.
Right. So you get a nicer house, cheaper, with the seller paying some of the closing costs, and you're going to get a higher rate, which means a higher payment. But guess what? All of our projections are that rates are going to be lower in the next 6 months when the Federal Reserve gets their arms wrapped around inflation. And when they do, we're going to refinance you, and we're going to give you a lower payment, but you're still going to be in the same house. And now everybody's going to be back in the market because the rates are going to be back in the 4s, and they're going to be 100 people on the lawn again, and your house will have gone up from the $680 you bought it, and now it's worth $750.
So that's why I tell people a lot now. Now, if you buy your house right now and you pay a little bit higher than you may have paid in the past, but you had a higher, you pay lower than what you would have paid in the past, but you have a higher interest rate, you can refinance the interest rate, but you can't get a change in the sales price of the house. So the bottom line is you are able to now buy the same house, refinance your interest rate in, let's say 6 months, get a lower price on your monthly payment, and you were able to get into the house that you wanted to in the first place.
So in the future, what I see, all projections that I see over the next 5 years, right? So you buy a house, and whether it's a starter house or it's the final house or it's a trade-up house, it doesn't really matter. You buy a home and you live in it, and you're raising your family. So it's not only about being profitable, but they're saying that the value of homes in New York should be up about 18 to 20% over the next 5 years. That's 20%. You buy a house for $700 and it's worth $840. If you got it for $680, are you really worried that it costs you $300 more a month for 6 months? Right. You're not.
Well, real estate's always been a hedge against inflation anyway. So generally buying a house it's not just a place for your home and your family. It's also an investment.
Yeah. I think now is the best time that we've had to purchase homes locally in New York in maybe the last 5, 6, 7 years. It really is. And you know what else is happening? The investors are moving out of the market. They're not buying homes. Right. So you're not competing with these investors who are nameless, faceless people. Right. They're buying in LLCs. They were buying in LLCs. So you have 5 young couples trying to buy a house, a year ago, competing against some guy in a boardroom saying, I'll pay $30,000 extra, because all they're doing is projecting rents, and they're projecting, well, what's my value going to be versus me investing the money in the stock market. Right. So that's a big deal.
And those are all cash too, so you're losing out right away because most of us can't buy a house for all cash.
Right. So who am I going to accept if I'm a seller and somebody comes in all cash and they're going to close in 3 weeks versus this young couple that I'd love to have my home.
100%. But look, if you are buying a house now, I agree. It is. If people don't think about it, but it is a good time to buy a house. But there is always opportunity. It doesn't matter whether you think it's a good market or a bad market. There is always opportunity out there. And if you are looking to buy a home, the fact that you're never gonna have a perfect time. There's always gonna be something in our life that prevents us. Says, "Oh, it's not the right time to buy a house."
Yeah, 100%.
There is always the right. You have to just do it. And this market is really no different than all the markets we've seen, all the cycles we've seen. In every cycle we've seen, somebody is buying a house. And I guarantee you, if you speak to those people that bought a house in a market that everyone said, "Oh, it's not the right time to buy a house," you ask them all 10 years from now.
It was the right time.
They all say, "Yeah, I'm so glad I did what I did."
It was the right time. And what your parents are telling you, what your grandparents are telling you is, hey, in 2009, the market blew up and values came all the way down, and it took a few years to break even. But if we go back into the regular neighborhoods, in 2009, those homes were going for $400,000, and now they're going for $700,000-800,000. So you lived in your house for 10 years and you doubled your money? Are you kidding me? What's better than that?
Yeah, and it's your home. You raise your family there, and you're not renting, right? I mean, you're paying yourself. You're not paying your landlord.
Okay, I think that's the market trends, and you know where we stand. Feel free to contact us at the numbers below, and we will help you any way we can.
All right. See you next time.